grab yourself a Choco Rocket because if it were up to me, this entire video would be about Bobby.
Bobby and back. Bobby!
In the arms of the angel.
Yes, Season 2 of Sweet Tooth is out, and with it a whole slew of new mysteries surrounding Gus, the hybrids, and an Arctic expedition that's sure to change everything we know. In this video, we'll be uncovering the show's biggest mysteries, theories for Season 3, and where the heck did all those other hybrids go at the end of Season 1?
They're dead! They're all dead!
Just a heads up, this is a non-comic spoiler video. And make sure to like and subscribe, or else my parents will ship me off to Alaska. The final episode begins on a diorama of Evergreen, General Abbott's proposed city free from the sick, a virus that plagued humanity 9 years ago, resulting in what is called the Great Crumble. To make this dream a reality, he's called upon 3 warlords, Voss, Dutch, and Zhang, using the promise of a cure to wrangle them to his cause. But little does Abbott know that the cure does not work, and this is where we find Dr. Aditya Singh. He knows that this cure does not work, and in frustration destroys this fake town. Not only has he lost the cure, but also his wife Rani. He's been focusing on creating a cure, he never took into account what his wife wanted.
Even if there is a cure, I don't want it.
She leaves behind a statue of Ganesh, a gift given to her by Addie years ago, which symbolized having a piece of home. Addie has now lost that home. He's lost everything, his wife, the cure, and his own sense of morality, having experimented on hybrids in his quest for the cure. So he locks himself in a room full of this purple plant, a plant that grows around those infected with the sick. And he does so with the intention of killing himself, but as fate would have it, there's much more in store for the good doctor. While drifting off, Addie hallucinates. Now, this is interesting because the show states that the plant only causes hallucinations to hybrids, but it's never explained how it has a similar effect on him. His hallucination is so powerful that he sleeps through the entire battle between Abbott's men and the animal army. But what's most interesting is how Addie's hallucination links up to where Season 3 is headed. In Episode 1, we see that Gus's mother, Birdie, is somewhere in Alaska. Her journey has led her on a mission to the farthest ends of the Earth with the hopes of getting answers or possibly even a cure for the sick. You see, Birdie worked on Project Midnight Sun, a research project funded by Fort Smith's eccentric president, Jillian Washington. Washington became obsessed with the story of her great-grandfather, Dr. James Thacker, who embarked on an Arctic quest in search of the Fountain of Youth. You see, he and his family suffer from a rare genetic muscular degenerative condition, so when he heard there was a tribe of people living in the Arctic who never got sick and lived over 100, he sought them out in the hopes of finding a cure for this disease. Fast forward over 100 years later, and his great-granddaughter Jillian has picked up the mantle, using her vast wealth to make her own expeditions to the Arctic tundra. There she collected microbes from the ice, tens of thousands of years old, and it was Birdie who infused these microbes in chicken eggs in the hopes of creating a viable culture. Now, 2 of these cultures developed. One would become Gus, or Genetic Unit Series 1, and the other became the Sick, which a desperate Jillian Washington injects into herself, becoming Patient Zero. This is part of the reason why many humans think the hybrids caused the sick. The 2 originated at the same time and place, but technically it was a human who created all this. As long as there's no cure, Birdie knows Gus won't be safe. This is why she makes the decision to travel to Alaska rather than Yellowstone to be with Pubba and Gus. Episode 1 offers some valuable clues that connect to the hallucinations both Addie and Gus have later on in the season. Here we see Birdie using a drawing to uncover the whereabouts of Dr. James Thacker's ship. We aren't sure who drew this picture, since it's implied Dr. Thacker died on the ship. We'll see this giant purple flower sprouting out of a skeleton, holding Dr. Thacker's journal, so it's heavily implied that this is Dr. Thacker himself, and that the sick was here over 100 years before we originally thought. But since the Arctic was so remote, it never had the chance to spread. Now, I tried to decipher as much of Thacker's journal as I could, but most of it was blurry and out of view, and nothing I did see was too revelatory. However, there are 2 drawings that are quite interesting. The first is the drawing of a figure and a cave. I don't think this is Gus, as I don't see any antlers, but if I were to place a bet, it's Addie. While hallucinating, we see him carrying Gus toward a similar looking cave. And check out these spats of blood, which just might be those two markings in the drawing. This cave is seen in yet another hallucination when Gus recovers from his wound. There he dreams of his mother in this cave who sits in front of a fire fueled by antlers. This all hints at some sort of hybrid living here in the Arctic. That would mean that Gus is not the first of his kind. These hooved snowprints seen by Birdie, Addie, and Gus hint that some sort of hooved creature is likely aiding them. We also get this deer skull figure in Gus's dream. Could this be the same person or thing out in the Arctic? There's also a deer drawn in the journal and a deer symbol on the map of Alaska, which we'll see later on. When Addie awakens from his sleep, finding that his life has been spared and Gus's antler on the ground, he takes it as a sign that his journey is not at an end. He must find Gus and travel to Alaska to continue his research. But there are two other parties on their way to Alaska too. There's Gus, Becky, Jepp, and Wendy, who found a promising lead when Becky found that one of Gus's books, aptly named Bambi, about a deer losing his mother, was written on top of Fort Smith research paper. Circled in red is the Alaskan outpost of Agvagnyagvik. Try saying that 5 times fast. It's where Fort Smith conducted Project Midnight Sun, named because for part of the year the sun never sets. There's also Mrs. Zhang, the leader of the biggest warlord faction introduced thus far. After she recovered an audio recording from Addie's lab, it's safe to say she'll be on her way to Alaska too. And we see her chopping up pieces of meat to these unseen creatures, to be determined if they're animals or hybrids. Many of our characters also go through their own personal journeys as the season progresses. We have Jepp struggling to come to terms with the guilt he faced once being a hybrid catcher, a job he took so he could find his way to his wife and son only to figure out they'd been killed. In Amy, Gus, and the hybrids, Jepp has found a new reason to live and a sense of redemption. There's also Becky, who joined the last men to get to Gus, and along the way found her long-lost sister Wendy, who was taken from her when hybrids were rounded up. She found Birdie's cassette tape, which Gus will later listen to, which explains why she never went looking for him. But of all the characters who had an arc, I thought it was General Abbott's brother Johnny who had the most tragic ending of all. Johnny had grown up with his brother after Abbott killed their abusive father. Abbott was this protector-like character, while Johnny was always seen as the weak one. Johnny struggles to balance what is right with being alongside his ruthless brother. He doesn't want to hurt the hybrids, but at the same time feels loyal to his bro. This all culminates in the finale where Johnny holds his brother at gunpoint, even firing the handgun which Abbott secretly removed the bullets. Johnny finally found the strength to stand up to his brother and is killed for it. While Abbott descends on Pubba's cottage, the rest of the hybrids are escorted to the Andersons, who we met in Season 1. It's unclear whether the hybrid kids will make a return in Season 3 as Gus, Jepp, Becky, and Wendy head out on their own adventure. Perhaps one of the weirdest elements of the finale is the Buffalo Stampede. When Abbott has Gus on the brink of death, Gus screams out in pain and seemingly calls on the power of these migrating buffalo, or bison. I can never really tell the two apart. It's so strange that Jepp even says,
"Did you do that?"
This hints that Gus may have the ability to commune with other animals. I mean, if he doesn't, then this is simply bad writing and an example of Deus Ex Machina, when some outside force comes in and saves the day. With Abbott gone and Gus set up on a new adventure, the team treks off to Alaska. And fun little detail here, you can see that part of his antler that was cut off has started to regrow. Remember that Wendy told him his will come back stronger, and I thought that was a nice touch to cap off the season. But what did you think of Sweet Tooth Season 2? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Bobby and